All right. Hello, everyone. I'm hoping everyone can hear and see me here, so we should be doing good on all of that. Welcome. So today we're going to be talking about a few different things here with Enscape and Vectorworks. We're going to be discussing the lighting and the features that Enscape works with through Vectorworks. Then from there, we're going to tap into some of the materials that Enscape works with. And we're going to go from there. So first thing to note, we're going to be recording this, so in case anyone is tuning in late, you can get involved with it later on there, so we'll have recordings. You will also get a copy of this recording sent to you about an hour roughly after our presentation. So to dive in here, let's get started. My name is Jeff Melzer. I am one of the application engineers here with Enscape. My field that I'm actually a little more qualified in is with Vectorworks, so I guess I'm the right guy to be doing the demo. From there, I'd love to share with you guys a couple things. We're going to take a look here quick at our website where you will find a lot of different information. So the website here is listed at enscape3d.com. From there, you can go ahead, you can check out our knowledge base, our video tutorials, and obviously the Enscape webinar. With that, then we also have our forum. If there's questions that you have that you can't get answered right away from anybody else, check this out. There are tons, and I mean tons of information, useful things. You can sort this by CAD software. You can also sort through to as far as tips and tricks, and it's constantly being updated. Our team is always working there, so they will get you answered as fast as they can there if you can't get a direct answer from our feedback. Next thing to check out real quick is also our YouTube site. So we are always posting new videos. If you're new to Enscape, there is a great way here to get some of the different playlists that'll introduce you, let you know what's going on. Also, anytime we've got a new software release, well, we definitely are posting new videos here, so it'll be great to check that out as far as learning goes. So without further ado, we're going to get ourselves started here. We're going to actually be working with a split screen so that way everybody can see it. But normally, for most users, you'll have Vectorworks open up on one screen and you'd have Enscape on the other. I'm going to give us a start here of just a brief overview of the Enscape toolset and how that goes. Then after that, we'll move into the different types of lighting here. So first thing first, when you have Vectorworks open, if you do not have a Enscape toolset and you've downloaded and installed, the first thing you're going to need to do is just go ahead, go to your tools here, go to third party, and then you should see Enscape, and you'll be able to add Enscape in right there. That's how you end up getting the Enscape toolset added. Once you do see the Enscape toolset, it's going to open very similar to this. I am running a new service pack actually from Vectorworks that just came out, I believe, yesterday or today. It is the new service pack 4, and then also our toolset from Enscape, which will be that is version 3.0.2, which is our most stable current release. However, we do offer other versions. People can download beta tests and things like that. So in the tool set here, let's go for it. First thing to look at right here is the Enscape button. What that's going to do, this would normally have a play button. If I didn't already have the window open, you would be able to be in a 3D view, and that'll launch Enscape for you. Next to that is our asset button. Assets are our versions of objects or resources that you can add into your file. We offer about, if I'm remembering correctly, 2,500 currently, and our artists are always adding more. So anything you're looking for, if you don't find it, check it out again, and it'll come, and most likely our guys are working on it. So that's a great thing. After that, we have the next thing here is the materials tool. This tool right here is how we can manipulate and work with all of the wonderful Vectorworks RenderWorks textures that come in, and also materials that we can build for ourselves to make the different objects look the way you'd like them to. After that, we have the general settings tool. Now, general settings is going to be just that. Couple of things to note in there: if you're having issues and you're getting into contact with our support team, they may tell you to go in there and check a box or two of certain things to turn on or off. So that's where they're going to be telling you. If they say go to general settings, that's the standard meaning is go there for us. After that, we have our actual feedback tool here. This is your best communication to us. If you've got a problem, click that little feedback button. When you do, it's going to open up a pop-up window here, just like I did. You're going to give type in a subject or whatever your issue you're having, then put your name and email address. The other thing to make sure to check here is going to be this guy right here. Include your log files. What that does, that gives us an option to see what happened, what you were doing when things crashed. So our support team is amazing. They're most of the time involved and on the clock starting, the minute that they get it. You'll probably receive a answer back within hours, if not worst cases, 24 hours. But I could pretty much guarantee you get answers back very, very quickly from our team. So it's a great way to communicate with us. Lastly here in this section, we've got the About tool. That's just going to tell you your software versions and anything as far as licensing and registration and where things are at. That way, in case you're having those issues, you can find that information right there. We also offer our store tool. That's in case you're going to want to change your licensing types from a fixed license to, let's say you're working for a firm and you need to get a floating license or add more seats. That's done through that. And lastly, then we have our manage uploads tool. This is where you'd find all of your different web information, your panoramas and things of that nature. So you would be managing them through that. Some changes and things that have happened over the time. We've moved some buttons out of that tool set. So if you're coming in from 2.9 or anything earlier like that, check out the in the actual Enscape window. That's where a lot of the tool sets that went from the CAD software, they are now into the actual program. So I'm going to stop sharing my webcam at this point, just so I don't take up the whole screen, and we'll roll from there. Okay, so as you can see over here in the Enscape window, we have our home screen. The home screen here is just going to be exactly that. It puts everything back to any views you were at or any menus. It automatically gets you into Enscape and gets you moving real quick. Very important button that a lot of new people always need help with. It's the basic tools. Lets you really kind of understand how to navigate through Enscape. We love having that open because it really gives people I don't remember how to change time of day, or I don't remember these things. It's all listed in there and it's a quick reference. Very, very, very helpful tool. So that's under that question mark over there. After that, we're coming back over here on the left. We have our collaborative annotations button. What that'll do is if you and a team member are working together, you can actually click on things. It'll open up a little dialogue and you can put a marker there. So then you can store that with the project that you're doing. Next person opens it up and they would actually be able to see, hey, something's wrong here. I'd like to point it out to you and let's get that corrected. The very next button after that is going to be the BIM button right here. That button right there lists all of your BIM information that's been created in your project. It also carries right into Enscape, so you can be in that window, and if somebody's looking for something, the information's there. After that, we have our view management button. So what that's going to do, we'll open that up. You can have a bunch of different views that are stored directly with your project. So they actually cross back and forth between the CAD software and Enscape. You can create different views, things of that nature. More of that can be touched on actually watching some of the YouTube videos and things. We got to keep things moving so we can actually get into the lighting and that fun. Next button over is our video editor. Video editor here is how we can build an actual camera path, things of that nature. And you can then export these videos, show them off to anybody and everybody that you need to submit that to clients. Very next tab over is the screenshot tab. We call renderings screenshots. It's not like you're getting a quick little snippet. This is a real rendering, a real output. And from that button, you're going to be able to change the resolution, do a couple of different things that'll allow you to have the quality of a rendering that you're looking for. After that, we get into the tab that says 360. That's where you can do a few different versions of 360-degree shots. You can share these then with your clients. They can open them up. They can look at it on their phone and actually move around in order to share that. You can either do it via QR code or panorama, by a web link. After that, we have our executor standalone options. Now, with those, you can actually build an external file. So with the executable file that you can send to your client, you can actually hand them that file. It'll open, navigation, everything of Enscape works identical. If you don't want to do it that way, you can also export as a web standalone file. Web standalone file is a great thing also. However, you do have to make sure that if you're sending it to a client, the computer still needs to have a little bit of resources behind it, because these are using WebGL and things of that nature, which do take up some power. After that, we've got our mini map. That's going to allow you to navigate around if you've got a very large project. And then this is a really cool button. It's the safe frame button. What that's going to do, it actually shows you exactly the cropping and things of that nature when you're going to take either a standalone video that you want to export, or your screenshots. So that's what that's going to do. That's going to actually show it properly for you, so you're not having to worry about a stretched out window or strange things of that nature. After that, we go ahead and we've got a couple different perspective modes here that we can offer. You've got your standard perspective, which is where most of us are going to work in. After that, the 2-point perspective, which what that'll do is it'll actually take all of your vertical lines and actually make them completely vertical. So it's kind of a unique thing. Then we've got the orthographic view, which will make some changes. It'll give you a little bit different perspective on things. So most of the time, though, we're all working in the perspective mode. Finally, then, the next couple tools over, we've got our navigation mode. Now, this tool, what it's going to do right now, we're flying around. That's what the wings stand for, but you could do the walk mode. So if we were on the ground and you didn't want people to be able to walk through walls or needed to go up and down stairs, things of that nature, the walk mode would do that for you. Really cool feature that we're offering is VR headsets. It's a one-click button. If you've got your headset properly hooked up to your computer, you can click that, and now you'll be set to a 1-to-1 scale, and actually you can experience your project through VR. Our website and our forums and things do discuss different VR headsets. Make sure you check in on that information before going to purchase anything, because well, you can get yourself in trouble if you're getting the wrong things. The next menu over is our visual settings menu. In here, you're going to find a lot of different options. Really what we're going to look at today with the lighting is going to need to be your exposure levels, your field of view, and then things of that nature. But going through this menu, and again, check it out on our YouTube or on our learning sites, our knowledge base, that kind of stuff. It'll go into much more detail to help you through, but I just wanted to touch on it right now. Lastly, this guy over here, this is our render window settings. This is where you can actually change or customize, for instance, the start screen that your client will see when you open up. You can actually change a couple of the different items as far as how your mouse works and those things, and then also just what the different options are here. So again, have a look at it. You'll be able to look through that stuff again in our knowledge base. So with that being said, I see we had just one question regarding recordings, which it looks like Kai's already answered. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to start typing them into the questions tab, and myself or our other staff member, Kai, will be answering away for you. With that being said, since I don't see anybody else with questions right away, we are going to get started into the lighting portion of things. So we're going to go back here to our Vectorworks side of life, and what you're going to see, we're going to go into the visualizations tool set, and Vectorworks offers you a few different options as far as lights that can get input. Enscape works directly with that tool set. We're not adding anything else different in. It is already what's integrated in the software, which really adds to the ability that we offer, being an integrated part of software of the CAD. So you're not having to change back and forth between things. As we're going to go through this menu here, you're going to actually see a couple of different things. You've got the directional light, you've got the point light, we've got our spotlight, and then we've got some custom light modes here. As far as the directional light goes, we just don't offer any support for that. It's not a tool that's really useful for the rendering side of things. So we'll start first in the point light. And now if you see over here in Enscape, we're going to zoom into a room right here that I've got a point light already placed in, and we'll go through what this example is going to show. In order to be able to show it, I am going to switch ourselves to a nighttime view. So to do that, I'm holding down the Shift key and I'm scrubbing with the right mouse button. And now you can see we're in a night view here. And now we're going to go a little closer in and just take a look at what this does. So back over in Vectorworks here, we're going to click on the tab there, and you can see now I'm going to give myself the arrow, and I'm going to just grab this light. So in the object info palette, once I've opened that up and I've got the point light selected, the point light itself is going to be an omnidirectional light. It's going to just shoot light out in all directions. This is really good for when you're using rendering and you need to be able to give your client a lit room, but you really don't have a whole lot of time to implement all the different lights and put them all in. You could just store a couple of these point lights in the room, adjust their settings, and you're going to have the room lit. Now, by adjusting the settings, as I was mentioning there, you can adjust the brightness of the light itself. We're at about 50% here. If we decided to go, to 100%, it's going to definitely change, and it's instantly changing between Vectorworks and Enscape. Really cool. It did really brighten up the room there, but I don't know that that's a real comfortable level for anybody in there. So we're going to just drop that back down to about 50%. Right now, also Enscape for me, I do have the auto exposure set. So it's kind of taking into account the overall light around the whole file. So note that if you really want direct control of rooms and things of that nature, you could turn off the auto exposure feature. From there, you can change the color temperature or the color directly of your light, just as easy as clicking in there. And, let's go to a fun blue color. And now we're going to change that. And instantly our light just turned blue. Just going to undo that and give ourselves back to the more warm light that we're looking for in there. Again, if you want to turn that light on or off, it's again real simple in the Vectorworks menu there. So that is just more or less the light source that you use as a point light to really just kind of blast light throughout a whole project. Not going to necessarily be very directional or things of that nature, but it gives you a great starting point. After that, I'm going to slide over here to our next room. This one is much more related to giving you a little more control on direction and how things are going to go. This is the spotlight. So again, if you look in your menu up here under the visualization tool set, it's the spotlight there. So we're going to grab those lights. I have, I believe, 5 of them in this project here. That we're going to just try to get all of them and not the point light. So great. Again, these settings here are pretty similar. You've got your brightness, which you can change up or down. From there, you've got your color settings and things of that nature. The one cool feature that is not offered from the point light that is with the spotlight is obviously the spread. The spread on a spotlight, right now we've got it set to 180 degrees. We could get it all the way down to 10 degrees. And what you're going to see in the rendering is they just instantly went down to a size of 10 degrees. So this is where you would change that. It only references the spread. We don't actually reference the beam size. So from there, you're only having to make one change, which again would be the spread, and then you can work from there. Same functionality of the on-off features here under the object info. And again, color and things are that way with this one. Other things to note, you can adjust the Z height, meaning where they're at in the room. If you start adjusting and you've got a very tall room, if you've got a very tall room, you're going to need to possibly work with the brightness and your exposure settings. Looks like we got a question asking about, is there a way to see fog in the room or through the beam? Unfortunately, at this time, volumetric lighting is not implemented with Enscape. However, many people are starting to ask for that feature, and our development team does know that we're going after it. So definitely look forward to seeing that. It is being discussed, so we'll go with that as the answer for now. So that right there, that is our spotlight option there. After that, we're going to move ourselves over to the custom light. Custom lights are a pretty cool feature that are implemented into things. And what custom lights are willing to do for you? Custom lights take in what's known as an IES file. And I'm just going to make sure I got my notes here so that way I give you guys the correct information. An IES file was created by the Illuminating Engineering Society. And they're a group of engineers that said, hey, we're sick of people just making weird random lights that don't actually give any information behind them. So what they've done is any manufacturer that you see out in the world right now that's making actual lamps is they have an IES file along with it. The IES file is a text file that's going to contain the numerical data that'll represent your three-dimensional shape of the light fixture. Most of the time, it closely represents your beam or spread of it, but it's done through math and through numbers, which is a really cool thing because now we can all just go to these different websites, which I will show you one here that showcases all kinds of different IES files. So we're going to go ahead and just this right here is called ieslibrary.com. You can find just about every IES file you've ever been looking for that's associated to a light or a lamp type, and that's going to give you the information regarding them. So I definitely encourage checking that out, and you'll be able to find what you're looking for. So after that, we're going to come back here to Vectorworks and Enscape, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you guys a little bit about how these lamps work. And I just grabbed a couple more than what I was looking for, so let's see if I can get just the 4 of them. We got 2. You know what? 2 will work for us right now on the selection there. Actually, I think we're getting them. Come on and grab it. No, we're losing them. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. We'll just do it with the 3 of them here. But what this is going to do for us is show, again, your same functionality of the dimmer and the different abilities of color, temperature, and your height. Where you get the good information to come in from is you would download one of those IES files. Then from there, you'd actually click on the load distribution. And as you can see right now, I've got a few sample ones in here in my own information. Right now, we're on a wide beam spread from an IES file. I can change that here to a narrow beam spread. All I'm doing is clicking that. And if you notice, it just actually shrunk the beam down on three out of the 4 because I only managed to get 3 of the 4 IES lights selected at the time there, but you can actually see once I turned it up that the pool of light is now a much narrower beam spread. So this really gives you some good information when you're trying to work directly with a manufacturer or with things related to how the light is going to look in an environment. So that's the brief there of how the custom light tool works. I'm not seeing, I don't think we've got any more questions. So from there, we're going to move on to the next feature that we're showcasing here, which is the area light. Area lights are a feature that Vectorworks has made, and what those do, once we click in here, I'm going to go to my class where I've created them. You can actually click on an object. So let's say you make a 3-dimensional cube like we've got there. Well, I want to make that object glow. I can go up here to the Modify menu, then I can go to Convert, and I would change that to being Convert to Area Light. Once it's converted it, what it's going to do is it's going to actually make it just like we see here, the cube there that's in the area light, a lit object. From there, I can go ahead, we can change the color, you can change the intensity, and a lot of those different things. So it's a great way if you've got, let's say, a billboard or something like that where you need to get it to illuminate and you've already drawn the geometry. So that is one of the cool features that's available in Vectorworks that we support with Enscape. After that, we're going to move on to the next one down the row here that I've got in the sample file that we've created, which is the line light. What's the difference between an area light and using as an emitter? So an area light versus an emitter, most of the time for us, the emitter we would use in our materials that I'll showcase a little bit later. As far as an area light, it's more you've already drawn the geometry and things and you want to work directly in Vectorworks. I hope that answered that closely. Go in here. So line lights, as you can see moving down the file here in Vectorworks, we're going to go ahead, you can select, and it's just like the area light. If we go ahead and we select a couple of these lights there, all we've done was I drew a line and then went up to modify. Same thing here under convert, and I converted those to a line light. Line lights do not show up. The actual line does not itself show up in Enscape, so you'll never actually see it. That's why the material underneath it that I've put in is a very reflective material, so that way you can actually see that there's a line there in the light that it's doing. Again, you can just select all of them. You can go ahead. We can change the intensity. You can change the color, very similar to what we've done with the other ones. As you can see, there's nothing special that we're doing in Enscape other than just representing what the CAD software has done. So that, again, it's such a great feature. You don't have to jump back and forth between different softwares and things. It's already working for you. So that's one of the best features with what we offer. So that being said, we're going to go to one more, which we briefly touched on there in the question, which is it's a material type of light. So as you can see here, all that the word here that says line light is right now is literally just that. It's just a geometric shape that then we've put a rendering behind or a texture on that I made what's called a self-illuminating material. Self-illuminating materials are worked through with Enscape, and this is a pretty good segue in case there's any questions before we go into it, but to actually kind of jump over to materials and how materials and things work. So if we don't have any questions about what's kind of been covered there, we'll go ahead and jump into the world of materials. So as I said here, this is a self-illuminating material that Enscape offers the ability to do in their material editor. Few things to start with before we really dive into that is going to be actually taking a look at materials. So to do that, I'm actually going to turn the daytime back up here in Enscape so you can see the different materials that are being used and reflections and things of that nature. And I'm going to give us a little bit of a zoom out here in Enscape and kind of come back around. So as I said before, in Vectorworks, we have the resource manager. If you've never gotten into the resource manager or don't know where that's at, you go under your Windows setting here, palettes, and you'll open up the resource manager here. It'll be a little dialog box, or not dialog box, it's a pop-up window that shows up. This is technically part of Vectorworks. I just have it sitting over here for the demonstration today. I have created a folder inside of the project file here labeled textures. So I'm going to open that up, and you can see I've got a few different textures that we've created, and also ones that could be RenderWorks textures depending on how and where you want to get your objects from, or your materials from. Vectorworks offers a massive, massive library of different textures or materials, as we call them, um, that you can go through and find if you're looking for different things that you're really interested in. Otherwise, there are tons and tons of free websites and things that will have other materials. One of them, for instance, where I've gotten a bunch of the stuff that I'm working with here from, is going to be this one now that's called Ambient CG Textures. And what this place is it's just, again, another materials place. So what you do when you go to a website like this is you can just type in something you're looking for. So, and I'm going to learn to spell. I'm going to type in brick, and we're going to get that. And let's say here's a ton of different materials that you can find already free from this website. There's a few others that are free. If there's really important things that you need, you can either create them yourself, or from there you can find other sites where you may have to pay for them. But this is a great resource right here that we already use. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to keep rolling down the line here of how to get a material actually from a site. So let's say this is the newest, latest brick that you really wanted to use, and we want to put this into our project. So we clicked on this one here. It looks great. We're going to actually download this. So with Enscape, you don't need to go ahead and download your 4K or your 8K materials. It's just going to weight down your project, and it's going to cause a lot of strain on your GPU. And for the most part, it's really not necessary as far as sending out renderings to clients. They're just not going to be able to even see it in 8K or things of that nature. So we recommend actually using the 2K JPEGs. So you can go ahead, you're just gonna grab that guy right there, and as you can see, we just downloaded that into my downloads folder. Very easy. From there, what you're gonna get is and we'll go ahead and I'll open up here. The downloads folder just shows you bricks right there, which was what we just downloaded. It opens up and gives you a bunch of different options or maps in here. Now the maps that we actually focus on, and I'm just going to also open up my materials folder. The maps that we're going to have you working with, you're going to need the color map, which is your image, and then you can grab the displacement map, the normal map, and your roughness map. So all I'm going to do is grab those, and the only reason I'm doing this is just for organization's sake. For myself on my own computer, I've just got a folder in there that's a materials folder, as you can see, and I have now put a brick demo folder in there where I copied these in. So now from there, I've got my brick in the material in there. And let's say we want to make that a new resource. So in Vectorworks, we're going to go under that resource manager, and you can go ahead here and we'll right click on in the textures there under new resources. We're going to do a new RenderWorks texture. It's going to open up the edit texture window. So let's call this our new brick. And then from there, you've got some options underneath. Personally, and again, you can work on things in a lot of different ways, but for myself, I like to just go ahead. I'm going to grab the image file direct from what we just downloaded. So I'm going to go here. We're going to go to my materials, which is right there. Then I'm going to brick demo, which we just downloaded. And this is where, when you want the image file, you're going to want to grab the color one. So we'll grab that. We're going to actually open that up, and now you're going to see you'll get a few different options here in the dialog box. Most of the time, there's not much you're going to need to change. You're going to want it to tile vertically and horizontally, so we're just going to keep things where they're at in there. From there, we could download the reflectivity map, the transparency maps, and the bump maps directly here in Vectorworks. However, I like to do that, like I said, this is just a personal thing. I like to work with that more in the Enscape material editor. So the last thing though that I do like to change first is, because this is a bigger pattern, working with it at 1 inch is going to be a little weird. So we're going to actually change that out to being about 5 feet for now, just as a demo. I could be wrong. It may be 2 feet, 1 foot. You know, it's going to be kind of play with it and make sure that you get the right scaling that you're going to want. So once we have all of that set, we now have our new material, and you'll see it right there. New brick is in our resource manager. So from there, what we're going to do is, instead of this wonderful grass area over here that we've got built, we're going to go ahead and select that in our file, and we're going to just change that to the to that new brick. So if you select an object here in Vectorworks, there's a few things that you can ways to apply a texture. The first way is you can actually go under the object info, go to render, and then change this. A lot of the time it's set to class texture. We're just going to change that to texture. Then from there, you click in the image, and we're going to go to new brick and hit select. You could see instantly it changed it there between Vectorworks and in Enscape. So right away, that's a great starting point. But let's say, for instance, you can see over here, I've got that marble area over on the side that was our reflective thing. Well, let's say you've got a lot of different things that are all built on that class texture. For myself, I can look here in the object info, and I know that this is under a class called surface, and so is if I click on the on this marble material, it's also there under a surface under the surface class. So I can go ahead and I can go in the classes here under navigation. I can right click on surface, I can hit edit, and it's going to bring up this pop-up menu. In that pop-up menu, you can go to textures, and you can go to objects and components of the texture, and we can actually apply this texture to anything that's in that class. So let's go ahead, we're gonna change that to new brick. Then we're gonna, before we leave this, sorry, I should mention this. There's a few other things that do have some uniqueness to them with how materials are taken from them and placed. One of those being walls. So you can actually put in your textures here on the classes a different material per side of the wall and areas of that. So you can do that, and it would automatically take from this class versus doing each one independently. That can speed up a lot of things for you when you're working with projects with nothing but with all kinds of walls and things. Roofs work the same way. That you could do that. You could either apply the texture directly to the object, or if again you've got a lot of different areas, you can just go ahead and implement the texture, the material through this menu. If it's just a standard geometric shape, you're going to do it right here. Again, if you want to apply it to everything on that class. So we've got our new brick put in there. We're going to actually click OK, and you're going to say to me, hey, why did the marble not change? Well, it's because currently, as I stated earlier, we're using the textures coming off of one that we put in. If I go ahead and I change that to class texture, you'll notice instantly marble just changed over to that. So that's how you can apply textures a few different ways here in Vectorworks, which automatically, as you've seen, take directly over to Enscape. Now let's look at this texture though that we brought in. It's okay, it's not quite there yet because we'd like to go ahead and put in a couple more details. So this is where I just clicked over here in our tool set in Enscape, the materials editor. We're opening up the materials editor, and I'm gonna grab new brick. From the beginning here, where it says new brick, you're going to notice the there's a few different things that we can work with. First off, the type of material. If it's specifically grass, or if it's water, foliage, or for instance, clear coat, which you'd see on the outside of cars, or something that needs to be really shiny. And we also have a default of carpet available. For this material, we're going to stick with the default one. However, I'll show you with the grass and a few things coming up, a few different options there. Next part of the menu that you see here is the albedo. That is just a fancy word for the image. So we've already downloaded that image file in there, which it took directly from Vectorworks. So that's the image we're working off of. You do have an option here that we could make this self-illuminating, which is how we made those lights or the words actually be a self-illuminating material. I would just clicked on that, which actually, hey, let's show you. Self-illuminating material. So you can see I've already got that. That's how our lights are on, and I've check marked that. You can control the intensity then of how bright it is or stands out. So that's exactly where I did that with that material was in here. Going back to our new brick, So with the new brick, we also have an option there for transparency that you can click on. This would obviously make the object transparent, so you could go ahead and see through it if you'd like. From there, then we're actually going to go ahead and look at the height map. So with the height map here, we're going to go back to that download that we just took a few minutes ago, and we're going to actually find the normal map or displacement map. Now, these are definitely a few things that there's so much information to discuss about your different height maps. The two that we have here as options, like I said, is a displacement and a normal map. There's also what can be a generic bump map. Bump maps work off of a grayscale. Their values of the lighter values will actually project outward on an object, where the darker values will sink in. Um, a bump map is kind of your oldest style of maps that were around. They work. They're the workhorse map. However, there's some other options that you can get into. Normal maps nowadays take actually into account the RGB values, and those, depending on how you're set it up on the map, will actually give you the different bumps and different and offset of materials. Last map type that's a very unique, really cool one is this displacement map. A displacement map is going to actually displace the object or offset it a little bit. So it will actually look pretty cool as far as giving you some depth. So first one we're going to click on here, we're just going to add in our normal map just so we can work with that one. And as soon as that comes in, you'll see here already what we just did once we brought that in. If I take the slider up, you can already see in Enscape that it's creating some different changes in there in the brick pattern that we've zoomed in on. So I'm going to kind of keep us right around just a little over 100% with that one, because it's just a personal preference at that point. From there, we can actually also take into account the reflection and the roughness map. So we're going to go ahead, click that little plus button here, and hopefully this is going to open up. And now I'm going to grab the map there that was the brick roughness map. We're going to click OK, and you can see it just instantly kind of put in a lot of those little details that needed to be added into the surface. If you're not happy with that map, let's say, I want these bricks to stand out a little more. What we're going to do, we're going to take the height map here. I'm going to actually put the bump map, or the normal map that I was using there. And now we're going to actually load in our displacement map. And I will show you how that works here. So we're just going to grab the displacement map. And when we load this thing in, I believe, yeah, my settings are pretty high here. So if I change this type from bump normal to displacement, you're going to see a drastic change. Instantly there, it offsets a lot of different things. It's a really cool feature to be able to get yourself some unique working perspectives with texture. You can take it down a little bit if things are too much, and we actually offer the option to go the other way. So if you wanted to actually sink things down with the displacement map, that's how you do it. So this is one of those, again, you're going to have a personal preference when you're rendering out your objects. So go ahead and work with it. You're going to always be adjusting those until you get things exactly how you'd like. But that's one of those really cool features that we offer, and that's all done. The tool set is still in Vectorworks. However, this is a materials editor, or not editor, sorry, the materials tool that Enscape offers. So it's really kind of an easy place to go. The best thing about this, so we just made all those changes that we did here in the materials tool in Enscape. Now let's go ahead, we're going to close that. It's going to take just a second because it's going to do a little thinking. But if I go back to the resource manager here now, and I right click on edit in our resource manager, you're going to see that it actually added all of that information. It works back and forth between Enscape and Vectorworks. So put all that information right there into it. So let's say you're a user that is very versed and works well in your resource manager, the edit texture manager there. You can go ahead. There's nothing limiting you from working in either option. The one thing to show or point out here that I'm going to go back to the Enscape material editor. is that when you're working with these materials, so we're going back to our new brick, you can do a few things to change or modify the way that the texture actually looks in here also. You can go here. So all I did was I went and I jumped the gun on not talking about it. So I went here to the embedded texture highlighted thing. And what that does is it opens up a different menu here, so we can actually take down some of the intensity of the map itself, work with things of that nature, or under here where it's got the explicit texture transformation. This is where if I want to scale our brick, I can go ahead and just punch in a new value for height, and you're going to notice it takes right away over there in Enscape. Where it does not take will be in Vectorworks. It does not change any of that information. So again, if I'm going to go ahead and rotate this brick 90 degrees roughly, it's changing it there in Enscape. However, it does not take in Vectorworks. So if your Vectorworks file needs to have that texture rotated 90 degrees, do that directly in the Vectorworks Resource Manager. If it's not a big concern to you as to how it looks there in Vectorworks, perfectly good options to work here in the material editor that we offer. So just making sure though that we're aware of the fact that it will not take over there in Vectorworks. Something else to go over here as far as some of the different tools and options. Again, let's say you didn't like 100% the color there that you have of the material. Well, you can go ahead and actually tint it. So let's say you want to make it just a little more tan looking. So we do have a tan color that's already there. I can go ahead and instantly now it's changed the color of our map. You can go ahead and tint just about any image that you want. Certain things to keep in mind: if your image is a white image file, you're not going to be in it, or colored, you're not going to be able to get it to tint to necessarily white. So you may have to edit that image file in external software to get yourself exactly what you're looking for, such as Photoshop, but at least it'll get you, this gives you a really good ability to work with the materials and change things up for yourself. From there, like I said, we're going to go ahead then, and I'm going to close out here of the material editor there. And I'm going to go ahead and click back in on this right here in Vectorworks. And I'm just going to change this back to our grass material. So once we go ahead, I click on the material, hit select, and you're going to see instantly we've changed the material back to grass. I'm going to turn up my daylight here a little bit more so we can see how the grass looks. Really cool feature that we offer already in Enscape. Grass has movement to it from the wind settings. So as soon as I'm moving around in the file, you'll notice that the grass actually does move. Any word that says grass as far as a material. So let's say there's a few specific words. So in this one, it does say grass already. Enscape is smart enough to pick up on that and go, hey, that's a grass material. I can actually make this look and react like grass. If you don't put that keyword in there, it's okay. You can make the changes of it in the material. Another one keyword that, and there's a few of them, would be water. That's another one that can work that way. And metal is another word. So there's a few keywords. If you make a new resource, it's going to let you take automatically. It'll know. So we're going to go back here to our material tool, and we're going to take a look at our grass. So in our grass materials here, a couple of features that you can work with if you want to. You can actually change the height of the grass just by sliding it in here, and you can notice right there it automatically, gonna need to bring in the landscapers to mow the lawn real soon. So that's a great feature. You can also sit there and change the variation, so it's not all at one level. If you want to make it look kind of unique, you can go ahead and adjust your settings there. After that, you can tint grass. There's no reason that if it's supposed to look brown because it's a burnt out area of the lawn or something, you could definitely go ahead and change the fact that it's of the color in there. So those are a couple of the really cool grass features that Enscape has to offer. We're going to go here in our project, and I'm going to fly just over here to a different feature, which is our water features. So water is another one of those keyword materials, and with that, you can already see just by looking at it how cool it's doing. It's got the caustic effect in there, and it moves with the wind, and you can actually change wave heights and things of that nature. So let's go ahead. We're going to click on the material that we built there for that, which was our pool water setting. The pool water settings, or just the normal water settings, again, you would just change the type here, go down to water, and then from there you can adjust the different wave settings, the scale, how much and how unique it's going to go. Automatically in the settings tabs in Enscape, you can adjust the overall wind. If you say, hey, I don't need this pool to look like it's, the water's blowing in it, you can actually override the wind settings, and you can go ahead, click that, and now all of a sudden you can tell it to, be no wind in the air, and so it'll never actually adjust when moving your view around. So that's just an override. We also have that option for grass materials. So again, make sure to explore those options because they are pretty cool settings that work really, really well. So I'm going to take that off. Last feature that I really do want to point out here is going to be the fact that our overall time of day and things of that nature can actually be adjusted directly from Vectorworks. It does not have to be done scrubbing through by using the right click on your mouse, which does allow you some really great things in and of itself. You can go ahead and notice how the clouds are rolling, how shadows grow and change with where the sunlight is positioned. But let's say here, okay, we got ourselves to a nighttime view. Well, that may not necessarily be the view that we're always trying to go for when we want to start this project. So we can go ahead and grab the Heliodon tool. And if you're not familiar with where that's at, it's under your visualization palette, this little house here with the light source, and it says Heliodon tool. So we've clicked on the one that we've got put in there already. Because I'm given this demo and I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, I've set all the settings to be actually in Phoenix. Now we've just scrubbed in Enscape to a nighttime versus daytime settings. And okay, well, I really want to get it back to say, let's say instead of 6 a.m., let's put it to a 7 a.m. As soon as I make these changes there, it's going to automatically update that daytime changes. So now every time we would go from Vectorworks to Enscape, in loading the file, it's automatically going to take the time of day from the project. So if you've got a lot of people looking at this and you always want them to notice it in that time of day, it's a great tool to work with for lighting and to work with for just your daylight and things of that nature. So keep that in mind when you're working on your project because it does go back and forth very well. Last material that's something unique to discuss. Enscape does offer the ability to add video textures. So let's say that we are working in here, and this wall we're going to want to change, and for some reason we want to project make it show a video file. We could do that here. We're going to go ahead in our resource manager, and we're going to actually create a new texture. So we're going to right click again. We're going to call it RenderWorks Textures, and we're going to call this our video file. You cannot do this directly in Vectorworks. So the easiest way to go ahead and do this is just to make this for now a color and kind of a larger, let's say 5 feet again size. Then after that, we're going to click OK. It's going to create our new resource in there in the video file is what it's going to be called. From there, then we're going to go ahead, go to Enscape, and we're going to go to our materials. You will notice once we pull it up, you're going to find the new video file material is there. So what we can do, we can make that a default, and then instead of there being an image like there was here before, we can go to the texture, hit the plus button, and once this loads, it'll go ahead and ask where we want to find our video files. So I have a folder here of a few low-res video files that we can go ahead. We'll go ahead and grab this one that says lower res triangles. We'll hit OK. And that just brought that material in. So I now have, and you can see the little sample here of the video file that's there in the top corner. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to close out on this, and I'm going to go ahead and select the wall there, and I'm going to go to render, and I'm going to go texture here, and instead of being that material, I'm going to go ahead and grab the video file. I'm going to hit select, and with any luck, it should have dropped in the video file. And of course, giving demos, sometimes things don't always work the way you want them to. So we're going to go ahead and just double check a couple things here. We're going to look at why the video file didn't take. And for some reason, it did not take into account there. I think I actually put it in the wrong place. So we're just going to go back in here and we're going to go back to lower res again. And we're going to click OK. And now with that being set up that way, hopefully now it will go ahead and take, and we're gonna also give it a little self-illumination so we can see this as a, I know what's going on. So instead of it actually being, you can see it's actually on the top of the wall because that's actually built from a wall tool, which is something that I was touching on earlier. So you can see it's right on the top of the wall. Well, we'd actually like that to be on, the left or the right face. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're actually gonna put the video file in on all the different faces here. So we're gonna go to the right face and go ahead and drop in the video file. And now you can see we've just dropped in a video file. And as long as you're moving your camera around, you'll notice that the video actually plays. So you can go ahead then and you can scale the video up, you can shrink it down, making it fit and work in whatever way that is best for you. So there again, you can see, and it is doing this all in real time. Obviously, depending on our internet connection right now, there's probably some lag that you're seeing. And I accidentally put that also in the water tool here. But again, you can see it all works through. So you can put video files in, which is a pretty cool feature, I think, with Enscape. With that all being said, that is kind of the end of our webinar for today to walk through all the different lighting things. And I hope I've shown you a few new tips and tricks on how to put lights and things into your projects. Also the materials there, again, hopefully showed you how some of that works. If there's any questions, please, we can quick answer a few here in the questions that you can type in. If not, we can go ahead and again, you can hit us up on our support. If you have any other further questions, please reach out, contact us that way. Otherwise, you will get emailed a copy of the link to this recording within about an hour in your inbox. And so thank you all very much for attending. And if again, any questions, please feel free to reach out. Enjoy the rest of your day and thank you.